Chapter 1. MS. Song. This marriage certificate of yours is fake. The staff member looked at Laura Song with a hint of compassion and sympathy in their eyes. Moreover, according to the system, Mr. Samuel registered his marriage with a lady named Emily half a month ago. Hearing that her boyfriend of 6 years had secretly obtained a marriage certificate with his first love, Laura was not very surprised. All right. Thank you. After saying that, she put the fake marriage certificate into her bag, put on her sunglasses, and turned to leave. Standing at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, she sent a message to her senior. Senior, I will go to City A to start a business with you. The other side seemed busy and did not reply immediately. Laura put her phone in her pocket, hailed a cab by the roadside, and handed the driver an address. It was not until close to evening that she returned home, exhausted. Just as she took out her keys, a ding sounded from behind her. Samuel walked out of the elevator and asked with a smile, "Laura, where are you going?" Laura stared blankly at the smile on his face. "I went to the place where we got our marriage certificate. I originally wanted to take a few more photos for memories, but I found it has turned into an empty lot. Do you know why?" As she said this, she stared at Samuel without blinking, trying to catch a hint of guilt on his face. But the man only stiffened for a moment upon hearing this, then returned to his usual calm demeanor. "You must be mistaken. We already have the marriage certificate. We can take the photos later when we have time. I brought you macarons from that place you like. They just released a new flavor. You can try them and see if you like them." As he spoke, Samuel handed her the bag he was holding, pushed open the door, and walked straight towards the bathroom. Laura lowered her head, weakly tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Samuel, we have no future together." She silently walked into the study and put the fake marriage certificate back in the safe. 3 days after receiving the marriage certificate, Samuel only showed it to her for a moment before hurriedly locking it away in the safe. At that time, she naively thought it was a sign of his commitment to their marriage. Until last night, when Laura got up to drink water and unexpectedly heard him talking on the balcony. "Samuel, why are you getting back together with Emily? You pursued her for 3 whole years. And just when she agreed to be with you, she eloped with someone else abroad. She almost played you to death. Don't tell me you still like her?" Samuel fell silent for a few seconds before slowly speaking. "I got my marriage certificate with Emily half a month ago. Her parents are forcing her to marry an old man, and I can't bear to see her suffer this kind of injustice." Laura was frozen in place, as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Both she and the person on the other end of the phone knew that Samuel was not simply reluctant to let go. He had never truly let go of Emily. For 6 years, she thought she had finally achieved her wish, to be with the one she loved for the rest of her life. But in the end, she discovered, it turned out she had never truly entered Samuel's heart. The Civil Affairs Bureau is fake. The marriage certificate is also fake. And all 6 years of feelings are completely fake. How ridiculous. And how tragic. Since Samuel is already married to Emily, there's no need for her to stay here and humiliate herself. From now on, she will pursue a future without Samuel. Chapter 2. Samuel's phone on the coffee table suddenly rang. The specially set ringtone was particularly noticeable in the silent living room. Laura hesitated for a moment, but still chose to walk over. However, before she could reach the coffee table, she was bumped aside by a figure wrapped in water vapor. The sharp pain from her calf hitting the corner of the table made Laura instantly tear up. Yet the true culprit behind all this, Samuel, was completely unaware. He grabbed his phone and turned back to the bathroom. Laura limped to the sofa, enduring the pain. Just as she sat down, a man's voice, filled with tension yet feigning calmness, came from the bathroom, gently reassuring her. "Don't be afraid. Stay in the room and don't come out. I'll find you right now." A wave of bitterness surged in Laura's heart. After being together for 6 years, Samuel had always been calm and rational in front of her. But it was only today that she saw him panic over a phone call. Only then did she finally understand that there was no such thing as a naturally cold temperament. It was simply because he did not love her. Samuel walked out of the bathroom with an anxious expression. As he passed by her, he did not stop, merely throwing out, "There's something at the company." Don't wait for me. Because of this, he overlooked that in the past. When he left, Laura would always hand him his coat and remind him to come home early. This time, she not only didn't ask a single question but didn't even look up at him. Laura sat alone on the sofa for a long time. Only when the pain in her legs gradually subsided did she stand up and return to the bedroom to start organizing her things. The couple mugs that were bought long ago, but Samuel had never used. The couple rings she made by hand, but had not yet given away. The intertwined knot that Laura handcrafted for their wedding. The celebratory drawing written stroke by stroke. Now all of it was unhesitatingly thrown into the garbage bag by her. For a full 2 hours, half of the room was cleared out. Laura had just breathed a sigh of relief when her phone suddenly rang. The voice of her senior filled with excitement. Laura, I'm currently on a business trip abroad, and I just woke up to see this great news. Welcome to our team. I'll be back in a week, and I'll pick you up to go to Escalating together. But, didn't you say you were preparing to get married to your boyfriend? Will he agree to let you go to a city? Upon hearing this, Laura fell silent for a moment. Although she had been with Samuel for 6 years, few people knew about their relationship because Samuel disliked being ostentatious. It wasn't until 3 days ago that her senior asked her if she wanted to join her newly opened studio in City A. Laura just informed her about her engagement, but unexpectedly, just a few days later, it all fell apart. She said calmly, "It's okay, the wedding is cancelled." When Samuel returned home and just opened the bedroom door, this was the first thing he heard. A trace of panic suddenly crossed his eyes. What wedding was cancelled? Laura was startled by the sudden voice behind her. She calmed her emotions and casually found an excuse. A friend had a last-minute issue. So the wedding has been cancelled. Samuel didn't suspect anything either. A few days ago, on your birthday, didn't you say you wanted to take couple photos? The photographer called me today and asked us to come for the shoot tomorrow. Laura instinctively wanted to refuse. However, before she could speak, Samuel turned his gaze to the empty table and furrowed his brow in confusion. Laura, were you just tidying up the room? Why does it feel like so many things are missing? Laura nodded naturally. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. It's just taking up space at home. For some reason, Samuel felt a strange sensation rise in his heart upon hearing this. Chapter 3. He watched as Samuel's gaze lingered on the table for a long time. Laura swallowed the words of refusal that were on the tip of her tongue. She just wanted to leave quietly and didn't want to complicate things at this moment. So, she said softly, "Get some rest. Don't you have to go take photos tomorrow?" Seeing that there was no change in Laura's expression, Samuel didn't think much more of it. The two of them, each with their own thoughts, fell asleep back to back. The next day, when she went out, Laura struggled to drag the garbage bag, preparing to throw it into the trash can downstairs. Samuel voluntarily took it over, somewhat surprised, and asked a question. "Why is it so heavy? What's in it?" As he spoke, he reached out with one hand to fiddle with the bag's opening, seemingly wanting to take a look inside. Laura instinctively raised her hand to press down on Samuel's arm. "It's just some useless stuff." Just then, the elevator arrived, and with this interruption, Samuel lost interest. Watching the man unhesitatingly throw the bag into the trash can, Laura felt a great sense of relief. After arriving at the photography studio, the staff took them to choose the clothes for the shoot. Looking at the various wedding dresses in front of her, Laura was about to ask if there were any other outfits. But Samuel suddenly stopped in front of a wedding dress. "Laura, wear this one. Didn't you say you liked this style before?" Laura stared at the court-style wedding dress, slightly taken aback. Half a month ago, she had shared a similar wedding dress with Samuel. If she had known that Samuel remembered her preferences before discovering Emily's existence, she would have been profoundly moved. But now, there is not a ripple. Yet she couldn't be bothered to choose anything else. So she simply went along with his wishes. A few minutes later, the staff smiled and praised while helping Laura arrange her wide skirt. MS Song. You and your boyfriend must be very in love, right? The wedding dress he chose for you really suits you, and the effect of the photos taken later will surely be perfect. Before the words fell, another staff member cautiously walked in. Mr. Samuel said the company has an urgent matter. So today we will first take a set of personal photos for you, and come back in a few days to make up for the couple's photos. The smile on the staff member's face was somewhat forced, and they even deliberately stopped a few steps away. She is afraid that the emotions of the girls might suddenly spiral out of control and affect her. After all, similar situations have occurred in the studio before. What she didn't expect was that Laura just nodded and calmly accepted it all. After taking the photos, she took a taxi home alone. Before she even entered the door, she heard the soft laughter of a woman coming from the living room. Samuel, I never thought that after all these years, I would still get to eat the meals you made with your own hands. At the dining table, Samuel naturally placed the shrimp he had just peeled into the bowl of the woman across from him. Just as he was about to say something, he turned around and saw Laura standing at the door. He was stunned for a few seconds before he remembered to introduce her. Laura, this is Emily. She has encountered a bit of trouble recently, so she is staying at our home for a few days. Sitting across from him, Emily cast a barely noticeable glance at her. In a soft and delicate voice, she said, "You must be Samuel's girlfriend. I've heard him mention you. I hope you don't mind us for a while. By the way, Samuel made my favorite salt-baked shrimp. Please sit down and join us for a bite." As she spoke, she stood up to make room in front of her and sat down beside Samuel, clearly taking on the role of the hostess. Laura had originally thought it was just Samuel's one-sided affection. Now it seems that the two are evenly matched. "You all eat. I'm tired. I'll go back to the bedroom to rest first." After saying that, she turned and walked towards the bedroom. But when she saw the scene behind the door, she froze in place. Chapter 4. A large wedding photo hung on the wall. Emily, dressed in a strapless wedding dress, was closely pressed against Samuel. Their noses touched, gazing at each other affectionately, like a pair of lovers who had been together for many years. At that moment, Samuel rushed in from the living room. "Laura, you should go rest in the guest room. Emily isn't feeling well, and this bedroom faces the sun, so I took the liberty of letting her stay in this room." As he spoke halfway, he caught sight of the wedding photo on the wall, momentarily stunned. Before continuing, this photo was only taken to appease her family's pressure for marriage. Getting the marriage certificate was a favor, while taking wedding photos was just to go along with it. Faced with Laura's cold gaze, Samuel felt an inexplicable surge of panic in his heart, instinctively wanting to grab her arm. "Laura, don't overthink it. I just want to." In the next second, Laura avoided his touch. "Don't touch me." This was the first time in 6 years that Laura showed him such a stance of rejection. Samuel's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Just as he was about to explain, Emily burst in unexpectedly, speaking with a choked voice filled with grievance. "Miss Song, please don't argue with Samuel. It's my fault. I shouldn't have moved in and troubled you all. I'll leave right away." I didn't want to speak. Her behavior was just like all the standard bitches, automatically triggered at the critical moment. Seeing this, Samuel immediately stopped her. "It has nothing to do with you." Upon hearing this, tears streamed down Emily's face like beads from a broken string. "Samuel, you have already helped me so much. I can't let you upset Miss Song because of me anymore. Perhaps those are burdens I was destined to bear. It is heaven punishing me for my past stubbornness and mistakes. I accept my fate." Her tear-streaked eyes and longing gaze painfully pierced Samuel's heart. He gently reassured her. "Don't worry. As long as I'm here, no one can force you to marry. Laura won't be angry about this. You don't have to go anywhere. Just stay here and be at ease." Watching this scene unfold, Laura forced a smile. "Yeah, why should I be angry? After all, this will be your home from now on." Leaving those words behind, she turned and walked out of the bedroom. Emily let out a choked sob. Is Miss Song still angry? But this time, Samuel didn't comfort her anymore. His heart was stirred by those words, and without thinking, he rushed out to grab Laura's wrist. "What did you mean by that just now? What do you mean this is her home? Emily is being forced into marriage at home and is being harassed by a stranger. I just wanted to help her. And you, as a woman, can't you empathize with her? Do you really have to be jealous and throw a tantrum at a time like this?" Before the words fell, a sudden sound of shattering glass echoed from the bedroom. Samuel's expression changed drastically as he violently pushed her away and rushed inside. Emily, what are you doing? The man's voice was filled with panic. Emily was kneeling on the ground, a bloodstain winding around her wrist, crying like a wilted flower. Just leave me alone. No one in this world cares about me anyway. If my death can make Miss Song stop being angry, then I would be satisfied. Samuel snatched the broken glass from her hand, pressed down hard on her wound with one hand, and turned to yell at Laura. Laura, are you satisfied to see Emily like this? Don't you feel any guilt or remorse in your heart? No wonder they say you are a heartless wolf. You didn't shed a tear even when your own father died. How could someone as cold-blooded and selfish as you possibly care about the lives of others? These words struck Laura's heart like a heavy hammer. It left her hands and feet numb, her whole body cold. Her deepest childhood memories are of her alcoholic father and the broken sticks. So when her father unexpectedly passed away, Laura didn't shed a single tear. Her relatives all said she was a heartless wolf. This matter became a thorn deeply embedded in her heart. Every touch would cause it to bleed profusely. Later, Samuel learned about this matter and comforted her for a long time before finally helping her let go of her emotional burden. But now it is he who has once again driven this thorn into her heart. Laura's last trace of affection for Samuel slowly dissipated. Samuel, I never said I wouldn't let her move in. I didn't throw a tantrum at you. And I avoided you only because I have a severe allergy to seafood. Samuel only then noticed Laura had developed a large rash on her wrist where he had touched her. Meeting Laura's reddened eyes, he recalled the words he had just spoken, and a wave of guilt washed over him. Laura, Emily, seeing this, gritted her teeth and struggled again. Samuel, don't stop me. Just let me die. In the struggle, the wound on her wrist began to bleed again. Samuel could no longer afford to comfort Laura, and hurriedly picked up Emily, rushing outside. I won't let anything happen to you. I'll take you to the hospital right now. Laura stood quietly in place until the two figures disappeared. What a typical bitch. Chapter 5. The bedroom floor was a mess. After taking her medicine, Laura moved her things to the guest room. As she passed the pile of broken glass on the floor, she stopped, bent down, and picked up a photo. This was the only and last photo she had with Samuel. She hadn't decided how to deal with it the last time she was packing. Unexpectedly, Emily took the initiative to help her make a choice. Laura curled her lips, tore the photo into pieces, and casually tossed it into the trash can. That night, Samuel did not come back. At 5 o'clock the next morning, Laura was awakened by the sounds coming from the kitchen. When Samuel saw her, still half asleep, a trace of guilt crossed his eyes. Did I wake you? Emily didn't eat much last night, so I'm making her some seafood porridge to take over. You should have a bowl while it's hot too. Laura silently watched the rice porridge bubbling in the pot. Even though Emily left many years ago, Samuel still clearly remembers all her preferences and dislikes. She had spent 6 years with Samuel, and just yesterday she mentioned her seafood allergy, but he had completely disregarded it. Even the fact that he could cook was something Laura only found out last night. Love and indifference. Sometimes, it can actually be seen at a glance. Laura said softly, I'm not hungry. You don't need to save any for me. After saying that, she prepared to return to her bedroom to continue sleeping. But Samuel suddenly spoke up and said, Laura, I was a bit anxious when I saw Emily get hurt last night, and I misspoke in the heat of the moment. Please don't take it to heart. Laura nodded calmly. Yes, I can understand you. The situation was urgent at that time. Samuel didn't expect her to be so magnanimous. Looking at her lowered brows and eyes, he suddenly felt a pang of guilt in his heart. We haven't gone on a date for a long time. Once we handle Emily's situation, I'll take you on a trip to relax properly. Laura casually responded. Anyway, she will be leaving in a few days, so it doesn't make much difference whether she agrees or refuses. 3 days later, after shopping with her friend, she unexpectedly found Samuel and Emily back home as well. The two of them were cozily huddled on the sofa, flipping through an album. Upon seeing her, Emily's eyes lit up. Miss Song, you're back. Samuel and I were looking at old photos. Friends used to say we looked like a couple, and I thought they were just joking. But a few days ago, when we went to take wedding photos, The photographer said the same thing. Come see if we really look like a couple. As the words fell, the air around seemed to freeze for a moment. Emily's words were an unreserved provocation, while Laura nodded indifferently. I think what they said is quite right. You two really. As she was halfway through her sentence, Samuel suddenly interrupted her. There's a class reunion tonight, Laura. Why don't you join us? A trace of sarcasm crossed Laura's mind. It must be that Samuel thought she was angry, so he tried to make up for it by inviting her to the gathering. The car was unusually quiet on the way, with the three of them each lost in their own thoughts. After arriving at the hotel, Emily walked alongside Samuel, naturally reminiscing about their school days, and when the conversation became lively, she even took the initiative to link her arm with his. Laura remained silent throughout, quietly following behind them. As soon as they entered, everyone rushed over. What's going on between you two? I didn't expect that after all these years, you two would end up together. Emily didn't explain, just blushed and smiled shyly. At this moment, someone noticed Laura at the door. This young lady is. Chapter 6. Samuel stiffened all over, as if he had just remembered Laura's existence. He opened his mouth, wanting to explain something. Then he heard Laura's calm tone. I am their friend. After she spoke, Samuel looked at her with a complex expression, but due to Emily being beside him, he ultimately said nothing more. Although the others found it strange, they did not ask further and invited her to sit down with them. Old friends who hadn't seen each other for years gathered together, wishing they could chat from one end of the world to the other. While chatting with friends, Samuel thoughtfully served food to Emily, even remembering to pick out the cilantro she didn't like, and Laura was quietly playing the role of friend sitting beside. Halfway through the party, she went to the restroom. When she returned to the door of the private room, she heard a voice coming from inside. Samuel, honestly, during these years that Emily has been abroad, have you liked any other women? The private room was silent. Everyone was waiting for Samuel's answer, but Emily, sitting next to him, took the initiative to speak up to help him out. All right, stop asking. It's normal for Samuel to have liked someone else during my many years abroad. Although she said otherwise, her eyes were already filled with tears, and the smile on her face was somewhat forced. Samuel felt a pang in his heart at the sight of her. He helplessly whispered, No, I have never liked any other woman. Emily finally broke into a smile, shyly burying herself in his embrace. The others immediately began to cheer and scream at the sight. Laura also didn't want to go in and disturb their fun, so she simply took a taxi home. A few hours later, Samuel returned, carrying a drunken Emily. He carefully placed the girl in his arms onto the bed, her delicate white arms softly wrapping around his neck. Samuel, don't go! If I hadn't selfishly left the country back then, would there not be a Laura between us? The one taking the wedding photo with you now is me. We are truly a couple, aren't we? Please don't leave me. Okay. Hearing this, Samuel paused in his attempt to get up, and Emily took the opportunity to kiss him directly. As Laura opened the bedroom door, what she saw was this ambiguous scene. She was stunned for a moment, then turned and exited the room. Anyone who sees their boyfriend kissing another woman would probably feel terrible, but perhaps because she had been mentally prepared, she didn't find it too hard to accept. Watching Laura's back, a wave of unprecedented panic surged in Samuel's heart, and he pushed Emily away and chased after her. Laura, let me explain. I understand. Emily is drunk. You should go take care of her. I won't throw a tantrum. Meeting her sincere gaze, a sudden, indescribable panic surged in Samuel's heart. As if something was slipping out of control, he asked hoarsely, Why aren't you angry at all? Chapter 7. At the class reunion, you said we were just friends. When you saw Emily kiss me, you didn't react at all. You even told me to take care of her. Laura, I am your boyfriend. Why are you pushing me onto someone else? Laura fell silent for a few seconds, just as she was about to lay everything out and clarify. Suddenly, a scream from Emily came from the bedroom. Samuel's expression changed instantly, and without hesitation, he pushed the door open, crouched on the bed. Emily ran down barefoot, stumbling as she threw herself into his arms. That pervert is coming to get me. Samuel. I'm so scared. Please don't leave me alone. Don't go away, okay? Before she finished speaking, Samuel picked her up around the waist. His voice gentle. Don't be afraid. I'm here. No one can hurt you. I will never leave you. Emily leaned on Samuel's shoulder, her gaze towards Laura full of provocation, showing no trace of her earlier drunkenness. So, Samuel, this is the answer. It was never me who pushed you to someone else. It was you who actively chose Emily. Again and again, Samuel accompanied Emily the whole night. Laura didn't mind either. The senior finished her work early and should be able to return to the country to find her the day after tomorrow. Upon hearing this news, her mood lightened a bit. The next morning, while having breakfast, Laura noticed that Samuel had left his mobile phone on the dining table. Looking at the screen full of work messages, she pondered for a moment before walking to the master bedroom door. But before she could raise her hand, Emily opened the door. Miss Song, Samuel took care of me all night last night, and he still hasn't woken up. You should not disturb him for now. As she spoke, she tugged at her collar, revealing the faint red marks on her neck. Laura calmly handed her the mobile phone. All right, just remember to give him the phone. After saying that, she turned to leave but was pulled back by Emily. How can you be so thick-skinned? Samuel doesn't love you at all. To tell you the truth, we not only took wedding photos, but we have also already obtained the marriage certificate. I am now his true wife in every sense, so you better get out of our house. As the words fell, a sound came from inside the room. Emily suddenly changed her expression, pleading in terror. Miss Song, I will move out immediately. Please don't be angry. Then, her back slammed heavily against the door, and she helplessly slid down to the floor. In the next moment, Samuel rushed out, and seeing Emily's pained expression, his eyes instantly filled with blazing anger. Laura, what are you doing? You promised to let me take care of her. I thought you were really that generous, but instead, you were secretly using such underhanded tactics? Laura coldly said, I didn't hit her, nor did I force her to leave. If you don't believe me, you can check the surveillance yourself. Upon hearing this, Emily's eyes flickered, and she quickly spoke up. Samuel, don't blame Miss Song. It was my own carelessness that caused me to fall. Though she said this, her fragile expression made it seem more like she was trying to appease others. A flash of heartache crossed Samuel's eyes as he carefully held her in his arms. All right, you don't need to cover for her, Laura. Even though you are my girlfriend, if you dare to hurt Emily again, don't blame me for being rude. Leaving those words behind, he embraced Emily and turned to leave without a glance back. Laura took a deep breath, suppressing the anger within her. No matter what she said, Samuel would not believe her, so there was no need for her to bother arguing. Laura gathered her emotions, went out, and spent the day with her good friend, only taking a taxi home as evening approached. Standing at the door, just as she pulled out her keys from her bag, she caught a glimpse of a shadow out of the corner of her eye. Her body went cold with fear, and she instinctively turned to run. But in the next moment, someone forcefully grabbed her by the hair and dragged her back. Feeling the dagger pressed against her neck, Laura dared not move, struggling to suppress her inner fear. I have money in my bag. You can take whatever you want as long as you don't hurt me. However, the man merely pulled out her mobile phone and made a video call. Chapter 8. The phone rang several times, and just as it was about to hang up, someone finally answered. Samuel, bring Emily back immediately. If I don't see her in 15 minutes, you can forget about seeing your girlfriend again. Seeing the dagger at Laura's neck, Samuel immediately panicked. Don't hurt her. Where are you? I will come find you right away. Emily, Gabriel has kidnapped Laura. You tell him not to hurt her. The camera shakes. Emily's face appears on the screen. Gabriel. The man stared at her intently. It's me, Emily. You clearly said you would marry me. I gave up everything for you. You can't leave me. The more he spoke, the more agitated he became. The dagger left a blood mark on Laura's neck, and she couldn't help but cry out in pain. Seeing this scene, Samuel's heart suddenly skipped a beat. Don't touch her, Laura. Don't be afraid. I'll go save you right now. Seeing Samuel's anxious expression, Laura couldn't help but tear up. She bit her lip to keep herself from crying out loud. However, in the next moment, Emily's words left her frozen in place. Samuel, don't worry. He's not Gabriel at all. Miss Song, there's really nothing between me and Samuel. You don't need to put on such a show to test his feelings. As soon as these words were spoken, Samuel furrowed his brows, a hint of hesitation appearing on his face. Laura's heart suddenly sank to the bottom. I'm not acting. Samuel, just believe me this once. Just this once. At the critical moment, she couldn't care less about the dagger pressed against her neck. Humbly pleading with Samuel, on the other side, Emily let out a helpless sigh. Stop pushing, Samuel. Is it true that if I take the initiative to leave, you won't do these things anymore? In the end, Samuel completely turned cold. Laura, I don't have time to play these games with you. Even if you were really kidnapped today, I wouldn't let Emily go. After dropping that sentence, he hung up the phone without hesitation. Laura stared blankly at the screen, as if falling into an ice cellar. Her whole body felt cold. A voice full of anger came from behind her ear. Gabriel, if you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for being Samuel's girlfriend. Remember to open your eyes in your next life and don't find him again. When Laura opened her eyes again, she was already lying on the hospital bed. Samuel stood by the bed, anxiously watching her. Laura, you're awake. Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Laura's mind was now in complete disarray, but she also did not forget Samuel believed Emily, mercilessly putting her in danger. If it weren't for the neighbor who saved her, she would probably have lost her life by now. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted you. Please don't be angry, okay? I had never seen Gabriel. I didn't know that person was really him. Laura withdrew her hand, interrupting him with a blank expression. Doesn't Emily know Gabriel? Samuel stiffened all over, explaining in a hoarse voice. The light was too dim. Emily just didn't recognize him. When she realized that person was really Gabriel, she cried for a long time out of self-blame. Anyway, now that Gabriel has been caught, please don't blame her anymore, okay? Laura, I know you are the kindest. She almost lost her life. Emily only shed a few tears, and Samuel came to ask her for forgiveness. At that moment, a nurse suddenly burst in. Mr. Samuel, Miss Lee has woken up, and she is crying and saying she wants to see you. This time, Samuel did not choose to leave immediately, but stubbornly gazed at her. Laura pulled at the corners of her mouth. You go ahead. I'm tired and want to rest. After saying that, she turned her back and closed her eyes. Samuel thought she had agreed to forgive Emily, and kindly tucked her in, saying, I'll go check on her and be back to keep you company in a bit. Leaving those words behind, he turned and hurried away with the nurse. A few minutes later, Laura completed her discharge procedures alone and casually hailed a cab by the roadside. On the way, she received a photo sent by Emily. Samuel half knelt on the ground, holding her ankle, seriously putting her shoes on for her. Watching the words being typed on the screen above, Laura casually added her to the blacklist. Upon returning home, she walked straight into the study. Without hesitation, she took out the fake marriage certificate from the safe and tore it to shreds, throwing it into the trash can. Then she picked up her luggage and headed straight for the airport. From now on, her future will no longer have Samuel's presence. Chapter 9. In another hospital room, looking out at the darkening sky, Samuel felt an inexplicable unease. Emily noticed his unusual behavior, her eyes dimming as she pretended to be wronged, speaking with a reddened gaze. Samuel, can you stay with me tonight? I'm so scared. Please don't leave me all alone, okay? As she spoke, she began to sob, looking pitiful. Seeing Emily crying with tears streaming down her face, Samuel instinctively wanted to agree to her. Just as the words were about to leave my lips, a flash of Laura's pale face and her reddened eyes, filled with suppressed pain from being kidnapped, suddenly crossed my mind. I don't know why, but it felt as if his heart was pricked by a needle, surging with a dense wave of pain. He furrowed his brow and rejected Emily's request. Gabriel has already been captured. You don't need to worry about him coming to find you anymore. Laura was frightened this time. And I must go back to accompany her. It's getting late, so you should rest early. I'll come to see you again tomorrow. Upon hearing this, Emily's sobs suddenly stopped as she grabbed his arm. Meeting the man's puzzled gaze, she forced out a stiff smile. I will go with you. Miss Song's kidnapping is also my responsibility, and I want to apologize to her in person. Emily, although she didn't understand why he suddenly changed his attitude, knew that she could never let him be alone with Laura. Samuel didn't think much of it and readily agreed. For some reason, ever since just now, a sense of inexplicable anxiety had been lingering in his heart. He only wants to see Laura right now. He hurriedly walked towards the hospital room at the other end of the corridor. Before he even reached the door, he smiled and said, "Laura, I'm back. What do you want to eat tonight? I'll go buy it for you in a bit." When he saw the empty room, Samuel's smile instantly froze. Laura. He rushed into the hospital room in disbelief, anxiously calling out Laura's name. The little nurse from the next room was quickly drawn over. Ms. Song was discharged this afternoon. Please pay attention to the volume and do not disturb the rest of other patients. Hearing this, Emily secretly rejoiced, but feigned weakness with her words. Ms. Song must still be angry with me. Samuel, I really didn't mean to mistake someone for her. If it were in the past, Samuel would have unhesitatingly comforted her, even helping her to criticize Laura for being petty. However, this time he silently walked out the door with a cold expression. Yes, Laura must be angry. After all, she just experienced such a huge scare, and he wasn't there to support her. This time, he was indeed in the wrong. He would sincerely apologize to Laura and explain everything that had happened recently. Left standing there, Emily was momentarily stunned and helplessly rushed to catch up with him. Samuel, where are you going? Miss Song is clearly upset and probably wants some time alone. You should avoid disturbing her for now. I'll accompany you back tomorrow. Chapter 10. Before the words fell, Samuel abruptly shook her hand off. I'm going to find Laura now, so don't cause me any more trouble. By the way, after you're discharged, move back home, and make sure to find time to finalize the divorce certificate. Leaving those words behind, he could no longer care about anything else and rushed down the stairs, hailing a cab straight home. On the way, Samuel frantically dialed Laura's number. However, the only response he received was the mechanical voice saying, "The other party is unavailable." At that moment, a glimmer of hope still lingered in his heart. Perhaps Laura just ran out of battery on her phone, which is why she couldn't answer her calls. As long as he waits for her to return home, he will surely see the beloved he has been longing for. Samuel kept urging the driver to go faster. However, when he pushed open the door and saw the empty and unfamiliar living room, he froze in place. On the sofa were Laura's cushions and small blanket. On the table her frequently used ceramic cup. And on the display cabinet those cherished dolls she collected. Everything related to Laura had completely vanished. He stumbled to the cabinet, trembling as he opened the door in front of him. Inside, there were originally items prepared by Laura for their wedding. The lover's knot she personally wove. The 100 happiness pictures she personally wrote. Each represented her cherished feelings for the wedding. However, at this moment, all of it was gone. Samuel was desperately searching every corner of the house. He was deluding himself, thinking that perhaps Laura had just put them somewhere else. But the more he searched, the more anxious his heart became. In just a few days, all traces of Laura's life in the house had been erased, replaced instead by Emily's belongings that were everywhere, especially when he pushed open the door to the master bedroom and saw the huge wedding photo on the bedside. He felt as if he could hardly breathe. No, it shouldn't be like this. This is clearly his and Laura's home. At this moment, Samuel finally understood what Laura must have felt when she saw this wedding photo. But now, it is all too late. Laura has left. She doesn't want him anymore. Samuel rushed over recklessly, took down the wedding photo, and smashed it on the ground, punching the version of himself in the photo who was embracing another woman. Even if his hands were cut and bleeding, he never stopped. as if doing so could cover up the foolish mistakes he had made in the past. It was only when the wedding photo was smashed to pieces, no longer recognizable, that Samuel finally stopped. He looked at the mess on the floor and walked dejectedly towards the living room. Pausing as he passed the trash can, Samuel shakily picked up a few red fragments. When he clearly saw the large characters on the marriage certificate, his brain buzzed, and he suddenly felt blank. Chapter 11. Laura has realized that the marriage certificate is fake. Samuel's breathing became increasingly rapid. How could she know all this? In a flash, he recalled that day at the door, when Laura asked about the Civil Affairs Bureau. So she had already known the truth since then? More and more details emerged from Samuel's mind. That call to cancel the wedding, her increasingly calm demeanor, pushing him towards Emily. Samuel collapsed to the ground in despair. So she had already planned to leave him a week ago. Yet he remained completely unaware, missing the last chance to win her back. But he only wanted to help Emily. He never thought about breaking up with Laura from the beginning. How could she leave him so heartlessly and decisively? At the very least, she should have given him a chance to explain clearly. Samuel had no way out. He could only press that number again and again. Even though the screen was already covered in bloodstains, he still refused to give up, numbly gripping the mobile phone. City A Airport. As soon as Laura got off the plane, she saw the hundreds of missed calls on her mobile phone. Only then did she remember that she had forgotten to block Samuel as well. She just couldn't understand why Samuel wasn't properly accompanying his beloved at this time and suddenly came to act so wildly. While she was lost in thought, the phone rang again, and her finger trembled as she answered the call. In the next second, a slightly hoarse voice of Samuel immediately reached her ears. "Laura, where are you now? I'm coming to find you so we can have a good talk." Before he finished speaking, Laura unconsciously frowned. "Samuel, there's nothing to talk about. From the moment you chose Emily, we were already completely finished. Please don't contact me again. Let's leave each other with a little dignity." At the moment Samuel heard her say it was over, the tension that had gripped his heart all afternoon finally snapped. With red eyes, he shouted angrily, "Laura, we've been together for 6 whole years. Do you not trust me at all? Can't you even give me a chance to explain?" Laura was so infuriated by his righteous questioning that she laughed out loud. "Explain? Trust? Are you trying to explain to me why you got a marriage certificate with Emily, yet still brought a fake one to deceive me? Samuel, where do you get the face to demand my trust?" Samuel's expression grew increasingly difficult to bear, until the last sentence fell. His entire face turned a deep shade of liver. "Laura, I only did those things to help her. I have always loved you from the beginning. Please give me another chance. We are about to get married. Don't give up on me at this moment, okay?" Chapter 12. Laura didn't want to continue entangling with him, so she simply laid everything out clearly. "Samuel, I don't care who you love now, nor do I care who you want to help. I only know that I no longer love you, and I cannot marry a divorced man. Please do not harass me anymore." After saying that, she disregarded Samuel's humble pleas and directly hung up the phone, also adding him to her blacklist. Standing beside her, Jessica gave her a thumbs up with satisfaction. "Good job, Laura. So decisive. That's how you should deal with a scumbag. By the way, Laura, I have to stop by the office for a bit. Leonardo will come to pick you up and take you to my house. If you need anything, just tell him." Hearing the familiar name, Laura's expression changed, and she looked at her warily. "Leonardo, Sr., why are you with him again?" Jessica did not notice her unusual behavior and naturally began to explain. "I have been studying abroad for a long time, and I just opened a studio in City A. It just so happens that Leonardo is developing well here, so of course I won't pass up free resources." Laura furrowed her brows, her face full of tension. "Senior, you must not be deceived by him again. He is not worthy of you." Back then, a flash of embarrassment and anger crossed Laura's face, and she bit her lip before continuing. "He once confessed to me, but I was afraid it would affect your exam mood, so I planned to wait until after the exam to tell you. Later, I heard that you two had broken up, and I just never brought it up again. He is not a good person. You should not be with him. Jessica was frozen in place, her eyes wide open in disbelief. What? Leonardo was the one you liked back then? She didn't know what she was thinking, but her expression suddenly became a bit unnatural. Actually, Leonardo isn't a bad guy. He's quite decent. You might have misunderstood him a bit. Laura finally understood what the saying "the observer sees clearly, while the one involved is confused" meant. She interrupted her, exasperated. Jessica, wake up. Just now you advised me to stay away from bad guys. How come you can't see it clearly for yourself? You deserve a better man. There's no need to waste your time and feelings on him. Jessica smiled a little shyly. Laura, is there a possibility that Leonardo is my brother? The kind with blood relation? Before her words fell, a deep voice sounded behind her. Laura, long time no see. After several years, Leonardo looked even more handsome, and his personality had become increasingly steady. Laura was holding a large bouquet of tulips, sitting in the passenger seat, awkwardly looking out the window. 5 minutes ago, she had finally learned the true relationship between the two. Leonardo and Jessica are fraternal twins. Their parents divorced early on and each started a new family with the siblings. Although the two of them did not live together, they never lost contact and later attended the same university. It was just that due to complicated family relationships, not many people knew their true relationship. This led Laura to mistakenly believe that they were a couple. When she learned the truth, she wished she could just find a crack in the ground to hide in. If she had been scolded indiscriminately while confessing her feelings, and then blocked and refused to listen to her explanation, she probably would have hated that person to death. Yet Jessica, unaware, tossed her to Leonardo and turned to leave. Laura stared blankly out the window at the fleeting streetlights. How did you get hurt on your neck? Leonardo's voice interrupted her wandering thoughts. Laura was slightly taken aback and instinctively touched the scabbed wound on her neck. She vaguely explained, I accidentally scratched myself. She didn't want to mention the kidnapping, and Leonardo was perceptive enough. After confirming she had seen a doctor, he didn't press further, and Laura let out a silent sigh of relief. Upon arriving at Jessica's place, Leonardo naturally squatted down and took out a pair of slippers for her. A brand new pink bunny placed at her feet. I just bought this. You can wear it for now. If you don't like it, I'll buy you a new one. Laura blushed as she thanked him and then changed into her slippers. Leonardo poured her a cup of hot water and showed her around the house again, perhaps noticing her unease. A hint of melancholy crossed the man's eyes. He took the initiative to say, It's getting late. You should rest early tonight. If you need anything, I'll accompany you to buy it tomorrow. Looking at Leonardo's back, Laura gathered her courage and called out to him, Leonardo. Chapter 13. Laura bit her lip and said seriously, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you back then, and without distinguishing right from wrong, I scolded you. The more she spoke, the quieter her voice became, and her entire face was almost burning. However, the next second, Leonardo's words left her mind completely blank. Since you now know it was just a misunderstanding, can you give me a chance to pursue you? The man's burning gaze made Laura's heart tremble. She never expected that after all these years, Leonardo still liked her. After all, she had been with Samuel for 6 years, and he never truly let go of Emily. She had just ended a failed relationship and wasn't ready to start a new one yet. She fell silent for a moment and honestly expressed her thoughts. I'm sorry, but I don't plan to date anyone right now. Hearing this, Leonardo did not back down. After you rejected me back then, I thought about explaining everything to you, but you blocked me. Just then, some issues came up at home, and by the time I dealt with them, I heard you had a boyfriend, so I could only choose to wish you well in the end. But, Laura, I have never forgotten you in these 6 years. Can you consider me? Capital. Ever since Laura blocked him, Samuel has not had a good night's sleep. He searched almost everywhere he could think of, yet he could never find her shadow. Samuel didn't want to face the house without Laura and refused to accept the fact that she had left him, so he simply stayed in a hotel, trying to escape it all. But even so, he suffered from insomnia every night. I can only rely on getting drunk every day to barely fall asleep. That day, Samuel returned to the hotel as usual. carrying a large bag of alcohol, and as soon as he walked in, he received a call from a friend. Samuel, the wedding dress you ordered 2 weeks ago has been delivered to your home. Samuel just remembered that half a month ago he had gone to a wedding dress shop with Laura. At that time, he had just learned about Emily's situation, and all his attention was focused on her. He didn't even take a good look at how Laura looked in the wedding dress before hurriedly leaving her behind. Samuel felt an overwhelming bitterness and regret rising within him. He does not regret helping Emily. He only regrets that he neglected Laura. If he could have cared for her a little more, perhaps she wouldn't have left him so decisively. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in this world. Samuel's voice was hoarse. Thank you for waiting at the door. I'll be right back. Saying this, he turned and walked towards the door. You don't need to worry. Sister-in-law is at home. She has already signed for it. Samuel's body stiffened, and the bottle of wine in his hand fell to the ground with a bang. What do you mean someone signed for it? The friend on the other end of the phone was startled by his suddenly raised voice. He laughed and teased. Why are you so excited? Who else could it be besides your wife? Could it be that there are other women in your house? Before he finished speaking, Samuel had already hung up the phone. He rushed to the roadside, hailed a cab, and hurried home. All the way, his heart was pounding, and his mind was in a state of extreme excitement. At this moment, Samuel could think of only one thing. That is, Laura has come back, and she is willing to forgive him. After all, they have 6 years of feelings between them, and they are about to step into the hall of marriage. How could she possibly bear to leave him? Moreover, he has never done anything substantial to betray her from the beginning to the end. Laura got angry, but that has passed. Now that she has returned, and Emily's issues have been resolved, the wedding must naturally continue. From now on, they will never be apart again. Thinking of this, Samuel's heart unconsciously settled down. The car sped straight to the community. He couldn't wait for the elevator and directly climbed 8 floors in one go. The moment the door opened, Samuel rushed in eagerly. When he saw that graceful figure in the wedding dress, he could no longer contain the longing in his heart and stepped forward to pull her tightly into his embrace. You finally came back. I know I was wrong. I will make it up to you from now on. Please don't leave me again, okay? In the end, his voice trembled slightly, and tears fell involuntarily. Chapter 14. In his embrace, Emily felt the warm tears falling on her shoulder. After several days of anxiety, she finally relaxed her heart. Since they parted at the hospital last time, Samuel hadn't seen her for several days, not even replying to her messages. This is a situation that has never occurred, neither in the past nor now. That's why she took the initiative to come today to test the waters. But to her surprise, as soon as she entered, she found that all of Laura's things were gone. Before she could feel joy, someone brought the wedding dress over and called her sister-in-law repeatedly. All of this signifies one thing. That means Laura and Samuel have completely fallen out. As for the shattered wedding photo, she thought it might have been because Laura was so angry that she deliberately smashed it in a fit of rage. But now, none of it matters anymore. Samuel's reaction has already proven his deep love for her. In the future, they can take more and more beautiful wedding photos. Thinking of this, Emily excitedly turned around and threw herself into the arms of the man in front of her. Now you realize your mistake? You were so stubborn before, clearly loving me in your heart. Yet you had to say those things to drive me away, making me sad for several days. If you don't properly coax me, I won't easily forgive you. Emily proudly lifted her chin, but her eyes betrayed an undeniable joy. However, at that moment, seeing that the woman in his arms was not Laura, Samuel was frozen in disbelief. He suddenly pushed Emily away with force. He shouted angrily, "Who told you to wear this wedding dress?" Emily tripped over the heavy hem of the dress and fell hard to the ground, the pain causing her eyes to instantly fill with tears. Samuel, what are you doing? Isn't this the wedding dress you prepared for our wedding? What's wrong with me trying it on early? As her words fell, her tears began to drop like raindrops. Samuel pressed down the anger in his heart and said through gritted teeth, "Take off the wedding dress immediately. It wasn't prepared for you." Originally, Emily felt wronged after being pushed down by him. Hearing this, She instinctively retorted. If it's not for me, then who else could it be for? Could it be for that Laura? You've already gotten a marriage certificate with me. She can't possibly marry you now. These words hit Samuel right at his sore spot. His face instantly turned ashen. Emily, I told you from the very beginning that I only got the marriage certificate to help you. Beyond that, I have no other feelings for you. My girlfriend is Laura, and I will only marry her. Emily clutched her fingertips tightly, forcing a stiff smile at the corner of her mouth. I don't believe it. Samuel, have you forgotten? You said at the class reunion that you only loved me, and you also said you would always protect me. And that night, you didn't refuse my kiss. You even took care of me all night long. As she spoke each word, Samuel's expression grew increasingly grim. It turned out he had done so many things wrong to Laura in the past. At first, he really just wanted to help her. But at what point did he begin to indulge in this feeling of being needed? Especially since she was Emily, who had once rejected his advances. This gave him an inexplicable sense of satisfaction deep down. Thus, he indulged Emily in getting a marriage certificate, taking wedding photos, and even allowed her to move into his home. Emily gritted her teeth and crawled up from the ground, slowly making her way to Samuel one painful step at a time. Stop deceiving yourself. Look at me properly. How could you possibly not love me? She stood on her tiptoes to kiss him. At that moment, a sudden loud knocking came from the door. Chapter 15. Samuel suddenly pushed Emily away. As soon as the door was opened, a couple rushed in with two men. Emily, bring that little bitch to me. As the words fell, the leading woman saw Emily in the wedding dress, rushed up, and grabbed her hair. Finally caught you. You made my son suffer so badly. You won't get away with this. Saying this, she grabbed Emily and was about to head outside. Emily was so scared that her face turned pale. She struggled continuously, trying to escape the woman's grip. Let go of me. Samuel, please save me. Quickly pull this madwoman away. Samuel finally came to his senses upon hearing this. He rushed forward, rescued Emily, and protected her behind him. Who are you? Get out of my house immediately, or I will call the police. The woman shot him a glance and coldly said, Gabriel is my son. I am here to find her today. It has nothing to do with you. As soon as these words were spoken, Samuel was instantly filled with rage. Although he no longer liked Emily, he couldn't just stand by and watch her get hurt. Moreover, last time Gabriel had even kidnapped and harmed Laura. Now his parents actually dared to come to his house openly to capture someone. However, before he could speak, a single sentence from the woman completely froze him in place. My son was originally prepared to get married, but this little vixen intervened and drove away my wonderful daughter-in-law. After she spent all of my son's savings, she ran away, and my son was driven mad by her, leading him to commit those wrongdoings. Before her words fell silent, Emily cried as she grabbed Samuel's sleeve. That's not true. Don't listen to her nonsense. It's clearly his son who is bothering me. This time, Samuel didn't blindly defend her, but instead looked at the woman with a complex expression. Do you have any evidence for what you are saying? She directly threw a stack of photos at Samuel's head, the sharp corners immediately leaving cuts on his face. You want evidence, right? Take a good look. Is this not the slut behind you? In the photos, Emily has completely changed from her current pitiful appearance. Each one shows her smiling charmingly, intimately leaning against Gabriel's embrace, and among them are even a few explicit ones, making it clear that they do not appear to be simply as Emily described, that she was merely entangled by Gabriel unilaterally. The woman looked at Samuel's ashen face and let out a cold snort. Have you seen clearly? Her parents have long known about this matter. They said since it is her debt, she should repay it herself. So, are you now prepared to pay her debt? It turns out it was not her parents who forced her to marry Gabriel, nor was it Gabriel's shameless pursuit of her. Only today did Samuel realize just how absurdly wrong he had been. It turns out that he had thought of Emily as a pure victim, but in reality, she was the one who actively intervened in someone else's relationship as the mistress. Yet he hurt the girl he loved the most, the one he should have cherished, all for such a worthless person. What difference is there between him and the old Gabriel? No, there is still a difference. What he has loved all along is Laura. He was merely deceived by her. Chapter 16. Samuel looked expressionlessly at Emily, who was crying behind him, her face streaked with tears. I will only ask you one question. Did you really not recognize Gabriel that time? Upon hearing this, Emily's crying paused, and a hint of panic flashed in her eyes. In the next moment, she forced herself to calm down. The lighting was too dim at that time. I really didn't recognize you. Samuel, do you believe me? How could I possibly hurt Laura on purpose? Can you help me one more time? I will explain everything clearly, and we can be together properly from now on. Before her words fell, Samuel slapped her hard across the face. His eyes filled with rage. Emily, even now you still show no remorse and want to continue deceiving me. He put all his strength into that slap. Emily let out a cry, her forehead hitting the cabinet, instantly oozing blood. She looked at the blood on her hands and screamed in disbelief. Samuel, how could you hit me? Samuel's face was cold. You almost killed Laura. I only regret that I didn't hit you harder. Whether in the past or now, Samuel has always pampered her, and now he actually hit her for Laura. Emily was momentarily blinded by rage. I did it on purpose. So what? We are already married. I am your wife. Why won't you make her leave? Blame Gabriel, that useless fool, for not finishing her off. As the words fell, Samuel's mind suddenly flashed back to Laura's desperate eyes when she was kidnapped. His heart immediately felt a sharp pain. Samuel's face turned completely cold. Take her away. From now on, her matters have nothing to do with me. The most important thing for him now was to find out Laura's whereabouts. As for Emily, handing her over to Gabriel's parents would not end well for her either. As the words fell, the woman's eyes lit up, and she dragged Emily up from the ground and headed outside. Seeing that Samuel really no longer cared for her, Emily was instantly terrified, her face turning pale. No, Samuel, please save me. I am your wife. You can't treat me like this. I was wrong. Please save me. Yet the only response to her was the heavy slamming of the door in front of her. After everyone left, Samuel momentarily lost the strength to support himself and collapsed to the ground. So Emily has been acting all this time? Being forced into marriage by her parents was a lie. Being entangled by someone for no reason was also a lie. In a daze, he recalled that time when Emily was injured, and Laura said to let him check the surveillance. Could it be that the whole thing was a lie? Samuel suddenly lost the courage to seek the truth. If this matter was also designed by Emily, how should he face Laura? What face does he have to ask for her forgiveness? But Laura should not be wronged like this. In the end, Samuel still trembled as he brought up the surveillance footage. Although he already had his suspicions, seeing Emily gloatingly flaunt the marks on her body, and even using the marriage certificate to force Laura to leave, he still found it unbearable and his eyes turned red. Yet what tormented him the most was that he had unconditionally chosen to stand by Emily's side. If he could travel back to that day, he would definitely give that foolish version of himself a hard punch. He hated himself for being so foolish as to not see through Emily's disguise. It was his indulgence that gave Emily the confidence to hurt Laura, pushing Laura further and further away. Samuel gripped his hair tightly, crying to the point of near collapse. Laura, where have you gone? I truly realize my mistakes. If you can forgive me, I am willing to pay any price. However, the only response to him was the sound of Laura dragging her suitcase away, the door closing behind her in the surveillance footage. At that moment, his mobile phone suddenly rang a few times, and a message from a friend popped up on the screen. I found Laura's whereabouts. Chapter 17. Ever since Leonardo's confession was interrupted by Jessica going home, she has been on edge for several days, fearing that she might accidentally run into Leonardo. Her explanation was, Leonardo's first confession ended in failure because of me. After so many years, it was not easy to have another opportunity, but I ended up ruining it again. Now he probably wishes he could strangle me to death. Laura could only find it amusing. How is that possible? Senior, you are his biological sister. He wouldn't be angry. However, Jessica's expression was unusually serious. Laura, you have no idea that after he was rejected by you back then, he locked himself in his room for 3 whole days. My dad and mom didn't speak to each other for 800 years over this, and as a result, they even came to persuade him through my mom. He really loved you. Over all these years, I haven't seen any other woman by his side. Hey, I'm not saying this for any other reason. Whether or not to accept him depends entirely on whether you like him. Although I am his biological sister, I still completely respect your choice. Of course, if we could get even closer, I would be even happier. From now on, don't call me senior anymore. Just call me Jessica. Who knows? I might even have to call you sister-in-law in the future. With that last remark, Jessica playfully winked at her and pushed the door open, slipping out, leaving only Laura with a helpless smile. In the past few days, she had already completed her onboarding procedures and officially joined Jessica's studio. In order to adapt to the job as quickly as possible, she sometimes stayed late after work to summarize the problems encountered during the work process. It wasn't until she finished work that day that she realized it was completely dark around her. Laura actually didn't feel tired. After all, working part-time before was like being a workhorse for others. But in this studio, she considered her skills as an investment, and working overtime was also to earn money for herself. She stretched lazily and picked up her bag as she walked out of the office. As soon as I arrived downstairs, I noticed Leonardo standing under the streetlight. The man saw her, his eyes brightening. Laura, let me take you home. Laura looked down at the time and realized it was already close to 10 o'clock, her expression showing a hint of surprise. Have you been waiting here for me all this time? Leonardo's company is not close to here. It takes about half an hour to drive. Moreover, it is already 10 o'clock, and Laura doesn't think it's a coincidence that she happens to pass by here at this time. Leonardo didn't hide anything. He explained with a smile. It was Jessica who told me you hadn't gone home yet. I thought it was too late, and it wasn't safe for you to go home alone. Since I have nothing to do, I just waited here to give you a ride back. Laura didn't refuse Leonardo's kindness. Sitting in the car, Laura's mood was completely different from last time. She was no longer so restrained and nervous. The two of them even chatted a bit, albeit in a half-hearted manner. Leonardo was very pleased with her changes. He originally wanted to chat a bit more, but seeing her yawn tiredly, he took the initiative to stop the conversation. You should rest for a while. I'll call you when we get downstairs. Laura responded softly. She originally just wanted to close her eyes for a moment, but unexpectedly fell asleep. When she hazily woke up, she happened to meet Leonardo's gaze. The two of them were very close enough for her to see her own reflection in the clarity of the man's eyes. Her heart suddenly began to race uncontrollably. Leonardo glanced down at her lips, stepped back a bit, and explained in a restrained, husky voice, I saw you were asleep and wanted to help you unbuckle your seatbelt so you could sleep more comfortably, but I accidentally woke you up. Laura lowered her eyes and nodded absent-mindedly. It's getting late. You should head back early. See you tomorrow. As she spoke, she fumbled to unbuckle her seatbelt, pushed open the car door, and got out. Leonardo in the car watched her silhouette and couldn't help but curl his lips into a smile. The evening breeze blew on her face. Laura finally calmed down. To be honest, she didn't actually dislike Leonardo. In fact, she felt a bit of guilt towards him because of what had happened before, but that was still not enough for her to accept this new relationship. Take it slow. Let everything happen naturally. Thinking of this, Laura felt her mood lighten a little. However, when she walked out of the elevator and looked up, she saw a figure squatting at the door. The memory of being kidnapped by Gabriel was instantly awakened, and her body was covered in goosebumps. Without a moment's hesitation, she lifted her leg and wanted to run away. Yet the next moment, she was forcefully embraced by the man. Laura, I finally found you. Chapter 18. It wasn't until she heard the familiar voice that Laura finally came back to her senses. The psychological shadow from her last narrow escape made her back break out in a cold sweat. Her face turned pale with fear. However, Samuel did not notice her unusual behavior. He only felt that Laura was still angry with him. He continued to speak words to win her back. I know I was wrong. I have prepared everything for the wedding. And I even bought the wedding dress you like again. When you come back, shall we get married? Okay. Before he finished speaking, Laura gritted her teeth and forcefully pushed him away, raising her hand to slap him hard. Samuel, I already made it very clear to you last time that we have broken up. Why are you here acting crazy again? She really cannot understand what Samuel is thinking. He has already obtained a marriage certificate with Emily, and now he comes back saying he wants to marry her. Does he think he can enjoy the best of both worlds? Thinking of this, Laura felt even more disgusted and took a step back with a cold face. Samuel was pierced in the heart by the coldness in her eyes. He explained with a hoarse voice, Laura, can we not break up? I was blind before, allowing Emily to hurt you. Now I realize my mistake. I have already sent her away. Please come back, okay? Laura wrinkled her brow in disgust. Since you know you did something wrong, what face do you have to see me? On what basis do you think that after I have suffered those injuries, I can just follow you back because of your light-hearted apology without any grudges? After being together for 6 years, Laura was always gentle in front of him, listening to the undisguised disdain in her words. Samuel felt an inexplicable sense of grievance rising within him. Laura, you can't be so cruel to me. I was also deceived by her. I just wanted to help her. You have to believe me. I have never had any inappropriate contact with her. All of that was fabricated by her to deceive you. I really never touched her. Samuel naively thought that Laura was unwilling to forgive him because she mistakenly believed he had intimate contact with Emily. He was eager to prove his innocence. However, Laura let out a cold sneer. You just wanted to help her, right? After saying so much, have you tricked yourself into believing it? Getting a marriage certificate, taking wedding photos, bringing her home to live, taking care of her all night. Doesn't that count as excessive contact? Do you have to wait until you sleep with her for it to be considered betrayal? Laura's tone was very calm, as if they were just chatting as usual, yet with every word she spoke, Samuel's expression grew darker. Samuel, do you dare to say that doing these things means you have no selfish motives? Can you honestly say you have never had feelings for her? Until the last sentence fell, he hurriedly avoided Laura's gaze, opening his mouth but unable to utter a single word of defense, because every word of Laura's struck deep in his heart. He had to admit that at the moment Emily kissed him, he almost lost control. If it weren't for his peripheral vision catching sight of Laura standing in the living room that night, perhaps he really would have been with Emily. But to him, those were merely the most normal physiological reactions. Yes, it's just a physiological reaction. All men in the world will have the same reaction when they are embraced. Moreover, he didn't continue in the end, did he? Thinking of this, Samuel calmed down again. Laura, I was foolish and made some mistakes in the past, but I have always loved you. Can you give me another chance to start over? As he spoke, he reached out to pull Laura into his arms. At that moment, an arm suddenly stretched out from behind, blocking Samuel's movement. What do you want to do to Laura? Leonardo appeared just in time, cold-faced, protecting Laura behind him, perhaps because they were both men. Samuel immediately saw his feelings for Laura and a surge of anger rose in his heart. What qualifications do you, an outsider, have to meddle in my relationship with my girlfriend? Hurry up and get lost. However, Leonardo was unyielding, coldly retorting, as far as I know, Laura is currently single. What kind of boyfriend do you think you are? Hearing this, Samuel became even angrier. He knew Laura's personality. If the relationship wasn't very close, she wouldn't easily reveal her private matters. He turned his head and questioned Laura, suppressing the anger in his heart. What is your relationship with him? You've only been in Shanghai for a few days, and you're already so close to a man. How can you justify this to me? However, a single sentence from Laura left Samuel rooted to the spot. What identity do you have to question me now? Are you Emily's husband? Samuel's face instantly turned pale. He knew that if he didn't handle this matter well, he would never be able to win Laura back. So he reluctantly cast a glance at Leonardo standing beside Laura. Laura, wait for me. I will handle my relationship with Emily, and I will come to take you home. After speaking, Samuel gritted his teeth and turned to leave. Chapter 19. Laura relaxed after drinking a cup of hot water. If Leonardo didn't show up today, and Samuel kept pestering her, she really wouldn't know what to do. But didn't Leonardo leave? Why did he suddenly come back? It seemed he noticed her confusion, and Leonardo pulled out his mobile phone from his pocket. I don't even know which little scatterbrain left their phone in my car. Looking at the familiar phone case, Laura blushed and quickly reached out to take it. Thank you, Leonardo. Not only was she thanking him for returning her mobile phone, but also for helping her tonight. Leonardo smiled and said loudly, "No need to be polite. Just call me Leo from now on. Do you have time tomorrow? Can I invite you to dinner?" Laura hesitated for a moment, avoiding his burning gaze, and slowly began to speak. "Leonardo, that man just now was my ex-boyfriend. Although I have already broken up with him, you also saw his attitude, so I probably won't start a new relationship for the time being." Her words have already been very clear. Laura is not a fool. She can see Leonardo's feelings for her, but she is still unable to respond to his feelings. Samuel has always been a very stubborn person. Before they completely severed ties, she didn't want anyone else to get involved in this matter. However, Leonardo did not back down. He gently reassured Laura, "Laura, you don't need to worry, even if you ultimately do not accept my feelings. As a friend of mine and Jessica's, I should protect your safety, so please do not refuse my help. You can rest easy tonight. With me here, he won't be able to hurt you." Laura showed a sincere smile. "Thank you, Leo." As the words fell, Leonardo's ears inexplicably turned a shade of red, and he hurriedly said goodbye and left. Perhaps it was because of Leonardo's comfort, or perhaps it was due to his steadfast gaze. She slept particularly soundly this time. The next morning, Laura went downstairs as usual to prepare for work, but ran into Leonardo downstairs. Looking at his slightly disheveled hair and the same shirt he wore yesterday, an absurd thought rushed into her mind. "Did you guard downstairs all night last night?" Leonardo nodded naturally. "Yeah, I was worried your ex-boyfriend would come back to harass you, so I waited here for a while. In the end, I was too lazy to go back and spent the night in the car. Just in time to take you to work this morning." Laura bit her lip. "Why don't you go up and sleep?" Leonardo was taken aback for a moment, a hint of embarrassment crossing his eyes as he avoided her gaze. "You're all alone at home." He only said something vague, but Laura understood his meaning. Because Jessica didn't come home yesterday due to a business trip, he chose to sleep in the car out of respect for Laura. She couldn't articulate what she was feeling deep down inside. She only felt a gentle warmth slowly flowing into her long silent heart. Leonardo glanced down at his watch and proactively opened the passenger door for her. "Have you had breakfast? It's still early. I can take you for a bite to eat and then drop you off at the office." Laura originally planned to grab a quick bite across from the community before heading to the office. Hearing this, he nodded in agreement. After the two had breakfast, Leonardo drove Laura to the company. "Laura, I'll come pick you up after work tonight." Seemingly afraid of being rejected, after saying this, Leonardo hurriedly drove away. Laura couldn't help but laugh at his nervous expression through the car window. She lowered her head and edited a message. "Okay, I'll wait for you." Chapter 20. In the following week, Samuel did not appear again. Laura couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. She knew that Samuel could never completely sever ties with Emily. After all, she was almost killed by Gabriel, while Emily only shed a few tears, and Samuel went to comfort her with a heart full of pain. Now that she has left as Emily wished, she is even less likely to let Samuel off easily. Perhaps she would just cry a few times out of grievance, and Samuel would forgive her, living happily ever after with her. However, Samuel no longer entangles himself with Laura, while Leonardo feels happy for her. There is also an inexplicable melancholy in his heart. It seems he has no excuse to continue picking up Laura from work anymore. To be honest, he cherished this time alone very much. Leonardo could feel Laura becoming increasingly close to him, and their interactions became more and more natural. "This is enough." The ringtone of the mobile phone pulled his thoughts back. Leonardo looked down and saw it was Laura's message. "Let's go out for dinner tonight." Jessica recommended a new restaurant to me. Let's see how it tastes. A hint of joy flickered in his lowered eyes, and he immediately agreed without hesitation. On the other side, Laura couldn't help but smile with her eyes squinting at his reply. A week later, she represented the studio at a public press conference. On the way, her eyelids twitched, and an inexplicable sense of foreboding lingered in her heart. Leonardo noticed her unusual behavior and furrowed his brow, asking, "What's wrong? Why do you look so pale?" Laura paused for a moment, then pursed her lips and shook her head. However, Leonardo did not relax because of this. "If you're not feeling well, then you shouldn't attend the press conference. After all, it's not a very important event." Laura forced a smile. "It's nothing. Just a bit anxious. This is my first time representing the studio at an event, and I don't want to give up easily." Looking at Leonardo's tightly furrowed brow, she said soothingly, "If I start to feel unwell, can I leave the event immediately?" Hearing this, Leonardo finally let out a slow sigh of relief. "All right, I'll stay on site with you. Just call me if you need anything," Laura responded softly. After arriving at the scene, she sat down in her seat under the guidance of the staff. The meeting was proceeding in an orderly manner. Laura gradually relaxed. The press conference was halfway through when suddenly a disheveled woman burst in. When no one else had reacted, she rushed directly in front of Laura and knelt down with a thud. "I beg you, Miss Song, please give my husband back to me." Chapter 21. It wasn't until she heard the familiar voice of the woman that Laura finally recognized that the person in front of her was Emily. I don't know what she has been through in the past half-month. She has not only lost a significant amount of weight, but her face also has an unhealthy pallor, making her red eyes look frightening. She grabbed Laura's sleeve and cried out, "Miss Song, please don't seduce my husband. I beg you. Just don't come and destroy my family." Everyone present was stunned by this turn of events. The media attending the press conference immediately sensed the smell of gossip and instantly pointed their cameras at Laura and the kneeling Emily. Some even eagerly wanted to rush forward to obtain first-hand information for the gossip interview. Laura pressed down her anger, coldly pulling away Emily's hand. "Emily, don't go crazy here. I have already broken up with Samuel, and I was with him for 6 years. Who is the third party? You should know better than I do." However, Emily revealed a sinister smile in a place where no one could see her. "So what? I have a marriage certificate. I am Samuel's legally recognized wife. What proof can you provide?" During this time, she was treated like a servant by Gabriel Chen's family. Because she couldn't produce the money to repay the Chen family, they made her serve Gabriel's parents. Gabriel, his mother, not only criticizes her every day but also beats and scolds her whenever she thinks of her son in prison. Meanwhile, Gabriel, his father, always takes advantage of others' inattention to touch her inappropriately. Every day, she not only struggles to eat well, but she also dares not close her eyes while sleeping. With injuries all over her body, from childhood to adulthood, Emily has never endured such suffering. Just as she was sinking into despair, Samuel finally found Chen's home. Originally, Emily thought Samuel was there to rescue her. With her body covered in wounds and a heart full of grievances, she rushed into Samuel's arms, weeping bitterly. "Samuel, you finally came to save me. Please take me away from here. They abuse me every day. It hurts so much." However, Samuel forcefully pushed her away. "This is what you deserve. You must atone for the sins you have committed. I came to divorce you." As he spoke, he pulled out a divorce agreement from his pocket and placed it in front of her. "Hurry up and sign it." At that moment, Emily finally understood that Samuel would no longer help her, so she forced Samuel to take her away from Chen's home by making signing the divorce agreement a condition. Emily attributed all the pain she experienced to Laura. If it weren't for Laura, Samuel wouldn't have changed his heart. He would have devotedly loved and cared for her for a lifetime. But now everything is ruined. It's all Laura's fault. She must be made to suffer disgrace. Several reporters at the scene could no longer hold back and rushed forward to surround Laura with questions. "Miss Song, are you, as that lady said, involved in her family? Please respond to this. Is what this lady said true? Did you really interfere in someone else's family?" Leonardo immediately rushed over to protect Laura. calling for the staff on site to quickly maintain order. Soon, Emily was escorted out of the press conference by security. The press conference continued to proceed as planned. However, at that moment, everything was being live-streamed online by a mobile phone. Chapter 22. Backstage of the press conference. Laura's arm was scratched by Emily, leaving several marks. Leonardo calmed her down while helping to treat her wounds briefly. It wasn't until Jessica's call came in that they realized something was wrong. I don't know how the video from today's press conference ended up online. The video editing is very clever. The haggard, wronged, and pitiful Emily stands in stark contrast to the elegantly dressed Laura sitting on the stage. Especially the last frail Emily being awkwardly dragged out of the scene by security further incited public outrage. The netizens unhesitatingly all sided with Emily. They angrily charged online. Down with the mistress. How dare a mistress be so arrogant? Destroying someone else's family. Do you have a mother who raised you or not? It's truly disgusting. Bitch. Everyone at the press conference apologized to Miss Lee. The mistress should come out and apologize to Emily Lee. Leonardo suppressed the anger in his heart, put away his phone, and comforted Laura. Let's go. I'll take you back first. You don't have to worry. I will help you resolve this matter. I won't let the person manipulating this behind the scenes get away with it. Laura also knew that this was not the time for lamenting. She followed Leonardo out through the safe passage. As the two reached the door, they bumped into the flustered Samuel. Laura, I didn't do this. I didn't know Emily would come here. Can you believe me? I really didn't know she would dare to slander you. As he spoke, he hurried over, wanting to take Laura's hand. However, before he could touch Laura, he was coldly pushed away by Leonardo. How dare you come here? If it weren't for you, how would Laura have to go through this? Samuel knew he was in the wrong, but he stubbornly tried to explain. Laura, you have to listen to me. I really didn't know she would do something like this. You have to believe me. When he saw the video of the press conference online and the heated comments from netizens, Samuel could only feel as if a large hole had been torn in his heart. He couldn't imagine Laura how sad she must be to see those comments. What scared him more was that Laura might misunderstand that this matter was related to him. Laura looked at him with a calm expression. I know you didn't do it. As the words fell, Samuel suddenly raised his head, his eyes bursting with surprise. Laura actually believed him. Doesn't this prove that she has forgiven him? He was so excited that he could hardly speak. However, in the next moment, Laura extinguished all the fantasies in his heart. But the evidence she used to slander me was given by you. So, Samuel, you are not entirely innocent in this matter either. After saying that, she pulled Leonardo and turned away without hesitation. Only Samuel was left standing there, his lips trembling, yet unable to utter a single word of plea. He could only watch helplessly as Laura walked further and further away. At this moment, discussions about this matter online were becoming increasingly heated. I have a scoop. Laura attended our reunion with Emily and her husband, and I felt something was off. The two of them were exchanging glances at the gathering, and I never expected she was the mistress. How dare Laura, a mistress, bully the rightful partner? Song, come out and kneel to apologize to Miss Lee. And in the end, the marriage certificate that Emily posted online completely confirmed that Laura was the mistress. As public opinion intensified, that evening, Samuel received a notification from the company. His boss warned him in a fit of rage that if he couldn't handle his personal matters properly, he would be packing his things and leaving. Samuel had worked hard for 6 whole years to reach his current position. He never imagined that a moment's lapse in judgment would lead to this outcome. The ringtone of his mobile phone pulled him back to reality. Seeing the name flashing on the screen, Samuel gritted his teeth and spoke. Emily, who gave you the audacity to slander her? Clarify this matter immediately, or don't blame me for exposing everything you've done. At this moment, Emily had completely lost her reason. She went all in, risking everything to drag Laura down with her. Samuel, now we are all in the same boat. As long as you push everything onto Laura, I will cooperate with you to clarify things regarding the future and your ex-girlfriend. You are a smart person and should know how to make choices, right? As the words fell, Samuel gripped his mobile phone tightly, the veins on his temples bulging. Chapter 23. Since the afternoon, Laura has been receiving calls from unfamiliar numbers on her mobile phone. There were also various abusive messages flooding the screen. She could endure just these. But the studio was also implicated because of her. Many emotionally charged netizens flooded the studio's account with comments. Expel the mistress! Expel the mistress! A studio that can hire a mistress is probably not a good thing. Wishing for its closure. Let Song the mistress publicly apologize to Ms. Lee. Looking at those comments, Laura couldn't help but tear up. Leonardo turned off her phone. Laura, don't look anymore. I've already found someone to handle this. You just take a good rest for a few days. Don't worry. Jessica gently held her in her arms. You did nothing wrong. Don't be afraid. We will be with you and help you clarify everything. Laura knew how much effort Jessica had put into the studio. She could not let these people destroy it just like that. She wiped away her tears, gathered her spirits, and began to sort out all the ins and outs of this matter. From her 6-year relationship with Samuel, to Emily's sudden appearance, then discovering the fake marriage certificate, and Emily moving into their home, to finally choosing to break up and leave. Just a second before she pressed the send button, Jessica unexpectedly ran over with excitement. Laura, come quickly. Samuel has issued a statement, and now all the netizens have gone to scold Emily. Laura took the phone and saw his statement. Samuel stated that he and Laura are the legitimate couple who have been together for 6 years. As for the marriage certificate that Emily has with him, he released the chat records from when Emily came to him, crying about being forced into marriage by her family and being harassed by a pervert, stating that he initially only wanted to help Emily, which led to a series of subsequent events. If the statement ends here, perhaps Emily would not be scolded so harshly. Yet Samuel ultimately expressed that he too had been deceived by her. Being forced into marriage by family and being harassed by a pervert are all lies. He also released evidence provided by Gabriel's family, proving that Emily interfered in others' relationships and deceived them for money. Among other actions, from beginning to end, Samuel completely stripped himself bare, transforming into another victim. The emergence of this statement turned public opinion completely around. Those netizens who had previously hurled insults at Laura found themselves being used as pawns, and they turned back to attack Emily with even harsher words. Many netizens jokingly remarked that this is just a real-life version of The Farmer and the Snake. Samuel kindly helped Emily, but in the end, he not only lost his girlfriend but was also labeled a scumbag. The most pitiful one has to be Laura, who was just trying to have a normal relationship, only to have her boyfriend taken away and be called a mistress by netizens. Isn't this matter Samuel's greater responsibility? He keeps saying he just wanted to help Emily, but there were so many other ways to do it. Why did he have to get a marriage certificate? How can he prove that he has no other feelings for Emily? Laura quietly liked this comment. Then she also posted her own clarification. She solemnly stated that she had already broken up with Samuel, and conveniently added the fact that Samuel had deceived her with a fake marriage certificate. Leonardo and Jessica also filed a lawsuit against several people who led the public opinion to insult her. Laura did not continue to pay attention to the subsequent events. However, from what her friends said, she learned that because of her clarification post, Samuel was also scorned by netizens. In the end, his private life affected the company's reputation, which ultimately led to his dismissal. Originally, Laura thought that after this incident, she and Samuel would be completely severed. But unexpectedly, a few days later, she saw Samuel again downstairs. Chapter 24. Laura was preparing to go eat hot pot with Leonardo. As soon as she looked up, she saw Samuel. In just a few days, he had become much haggard, his face pale, and his eyes were filled with red veins. He handed a few sheets of paper to her. Emily has already signed the divorce agreement, and in less than a month, I will be able to obtain the divorce certificate. Laura, I no longer have any relationship with Emily, so you can come back with me now, right? To this day, Samuel still naively believes that Laura left because he and Emily got married, which made her angry. So he used most of his savings to help Emily pay off the money owed to Chen's family in order to get her to agree to the divorce. As soon as he received the divorce agreement, he couldn't wait to find Laura, hoping that she would change her mind. However, Laura furrowed her brow and took a step back. Samuel, I have made it very clear. I no longer love you. We are broken up. No matter whether you divorce Emily or not, I will not reconcile with you. Do you understand? After a pause, she glanced at Leonardo beside her and took his hand voluntarily. Moreover, I now have a new life and someone I like. So please do not disturb me anymore. Samuel stood there in a daze, looking at Laura and then at Leonardo beside her, and after a long time seemed to finally understand her meaning. The corners of his mouth forced a painful smile. Don't joke like that. You love me so much. How could you easily fall for someone else? Laura, stop sulking and let's make up. In the end, his voice even took on a hint of sobbing. His eyes filled with humility and pleading. Laura let out a helpless sigh. She couldn't understand Samuel's stubbornness. Was it because he loved her? But if he truly loved her, then why did he do those things with Emily? Laura couldn't find an answer and had no interest in thinking any further. Samuel, stop deceiving yourself. You know that once I set my mind on something, I never change. I once loved you wholeheartedly, but now I no longer love you. No matter what you do, it won't change that. As the words fell, Samuel's face instantly turned gray, as if his soul had been drawn out, leaving only an empty shell. Laura ignored him further and took Leonardo's hand to leave, until she could no longer see Samuel's figure. She wanted to let go of Leonardo, but the man held her hand tightly. Laura, was what you just said really true? Laura was momentarily stunned before she reacted. Looking at Leonardo's flushed ears, she had a sudden thought and pretended to be puzzled, furrowing her brow. What? I don't remember. Leonardo felt a sudden panic in his heart. Just now you clearly held my hand and said you liked someone. Laura, don't lie to me. Perhaps because his emotions were too intense, Leonardo's voice trembled slightly, but his gaze was unwaveringly fixed on the girl he loved. Laura could feel just how tense and helpless the usually calm and composed man was at this moment. She smiled and shook the hands that were tightly intertwined. Okay, I'm not lying to you. I really like you. As soon as the words fell, Leonardo's gaze suddenly brightened. He couldn't help but embrace Laura tightly. Laura, I love you. From the moment they first met in college, even after being apart for 6 years, Leonardo's love for Laura has never diminished. No one knows that every year he quietly flies to the capital the day before Laura's birthday. He stood outside her house all night just to say a happy birthday that he had never received a response to. He even thought that perhaps he would remain alone for the rest of his life. Fortunately, heaven showed mercy, and finally today, he found the lost treasure. From now on, he will never let go for the rest of his life. Laura leaned tightly against Leonardo's chest, listening to his rapid heartbeat, unconsciously tightening her arms around his waist. Chapter 25. Early the next morning, Jessica stood by the window, reaching out to wave at Laura. Laura, can you see if that's Leonardo down there? Laura paused her brushing, biting her toothbrush as she walked to the window to look down. She immediately spotted Leonardo standing straight below, even though she knew he couldn't see her. For some reason, Laura suddenly felt a bit shy, especially with Jessica beside her, scoffing and commenting, "TSK, TSK, TSK. He really is a lovesick fool, coming all the way here so early to find his girlfriend. Laura, how did you train him? You must teach me someday. Ha ha ha." As soon as those words were spoken, Laura blushed completely, and she quickly changed the subject. Jessica, why don't you join us for breakfast later? After eating, it'll be just in time for work. Jessica snatched a bag of bread from the table and took a fierce bite. I'm not going to be a third wheel. You two go eat. I have some things to take care of later. Upon hearing this, Laura had no choice but to give up. She hurriedly finished washing up and went downstairs, quickly running up to Leonardo. Why did you come so early today? Leonardo gazed at her with intense eyes. Woke up early. Since there's nothing to do, I came to find you. In fact, he hadn't slept a wink last night. It wasn't that he wasn't tired, but he was afraid to sleep. He feared waking up to find that all of this was just an illusion. So before dawn, he ran downstairs to wait. He just wants to see Laura a little earlier, to confirm that all of this is real. After having breakfast, Leonardo dropped Laura off at the company building. All her good mood today ended instantly when she encountered a man at the company entrance. Song. Hello. My name is Bruno. I am Samuel's friend. He had an accident, and I would like to ask you to go to the hospital to see him. After all, you have been together for so many years. You wouldn't be so heartless, would you? Bruno, although he spoke politely, it was clear from his demeanor, given his current state, if she didn't go to the hospital today, he probably wouldn't leave either. Her situation had already affected the studio before. Now, she just wanted to resolve this matter completely. All right. I'll go to the hospital with you. Bruno let out a sigh of relief upon hearing this. He had thought Laura was determined to break up, but now it seemed she had probably regretted it long ago. She was just waiting for an opportunity to return to his brother. On the way, he kept trying to persuade her. When two people are together, there are bound to be arguments. What obstacles can't be overcome? Why must it end up so awkwardly? You've been together for so many years. It's not easy. You should cherish this relationship. Words like these were said all the way, without exception. They all wanted to persuade her to get back together with Samuel. Yet Laura remained silent, quietly admiring the scenery outside the window. When the two entered the hospital room, Samuel was lying on the bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. The moment he saw Laura, he suddenly brightened with a glimmer of light in his eyes. Laura, I knew you were lying to me all along. How could you possibly fall in love with someone else? Once I recover, we will go back and get married, okay? From now on, I will treat you well. In the next moment, Laura shattered his illusions. When did I ever say I would marry you? Samuel, if I remember correctly, you haven't officially divorced Emily yet. I came here today just to tell you to stop bothering me. I have a new life now and don't want any more ties with you. After saying this, she turned around without hesitation and tried to leave, and Samuel's several friends quickly stepped forward to stop her. Although Samuel got a marriage certificate with Emily, he didn't actually cheat. Why do you have to be so calculative and hold on to this? Exactly. Moreover, he lost his job trying to clarify things for you, and he even got into a car accident that nearly cost him his life. We should have some conscience, right? Let the past fade away. Laura felt the meaning of the phrase birds of a feather flock together more vividly for the first time. She seemed to suddenly understand why Samuel could still boldly ask for her forgiveness after doing those absurd things. Because these people simply do not think this is a big deal. Since reasoning does not work, she simply decided to be polite with them. I can agree to you, but I have one request. Hearing this, Samuel's eyes turned red with excitement, and he couldn't wait to speak. As long as you are willing to marry me, you can let me do anything. Laura mockingly curled her lips. Sure, then come back when I'm getting married for the second time. Maybe I will consider you then. As soon as the words fell, before Samuel could speak, the other men changed their expressions first. Are you crazy? Letting Samuel be your backup? How can you say such shameless words? Since you've been given a way out, you should take it quickly. Don't make a scene at the end, or it will be you who ends up embarrassed. Forget it, Samuel. Let the brothers introduce you to someone new. Let her regret it. It turns out they also know that saying such things is very shameless. But why is it that when it comes to Samuel, they confidently demand her forgiveness? Laura let out a cold sneer and turned away without hesitation. Before she could reach the door, a sudden Samuel's hoarse voice came from behind. I am willing. Chapter 26. As soon as those words were spoken, everyone in the ward was stunned. His several brothers exchanged glances, their faces filled with shock and helplessness. Samuel, are you crazy? You actually agreed to such a request? However, Samuel ignored them and stubbornly gazed at Laura's back. Laura, I promise you, I am willing to wait for you to be with Leonardo. He paused, and the next words seemed difficult to utter, almost squeezed out from between his teeth. I will wait for you as long as you can come back, even if it means marrying and then divorcing. Why act so deeply affectionate now? Where were you before? It's truly disgusting. Laura walked out of the ward without hesitation. Since he is willing to wait, then let him wait. After all, even if they are divorced, she will not look back. A year later, at the company celebration banquet, Leonardo formally proposed to Laura in front of everyone. He was dressed in a suit, kneeling on one knee, holding up a diamond ring. The heart of diamond he carved by hand sparkled brilliantly under the light. Laura, I love you. Will you marry me? It was clearly he who proposed to Laura, yet he was the one whose eyes turned red with excitement first. Laura smiled as she wiped away the tear on his face, kissing his lips amidst the blessings of everyone. I am willing to marry you, Leonardo. On that day, Leonardo felt like a victorious general, excitedly lifting his beloved. The friends present, seeing this, all gathered around, continuously jeering and screaming. Laura wrapped her arms around his neck, her face flushed with shyness. Far away in the capital, Samuel was learning of this news while socializing with several bosses in the private room. At that time, because of Emily, he caused a scene that made him lose the job he had managed for many years. Now he can only start over. For the sake of a contract, he has to endure rounds of drinking from several bosses. Almost every day, he has to drink himself into a stupor to make it home. However, this time, there will no longer be anyone waiting for him at home late at night, preparing a bowl of hangover soup for him. Samuel asked in a daze and with uncertainty, Martin, what did you just say? Martin and Leonardo have been friends for many years and both know about their situation. Today he deliberately wanted to vent some frustration on Laura. He smiled and said, the president of Leonardo in City A proposed to his girlfriend today and was so excited that he cried on the spot. Come on, let's raise a glass to wish them a long and happy life together. Samuel heard nothing except that Leonardo had successfully proposed. He numbly picked up his glass and downed the entire drink of strong liquor. In the next second, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell straight down. When he woke up again, he was already lying on a hospital bed. Samuel has cut ties with the few friends who once spoke ill of Laura. The only one still by his side is his childhood friend Noah. Are you awake? Would you like some water? Samuel nodded blankly. Noah looked at his dazed expression, feeling an indescribable sensation in his heart. From the very beginning, he had warned Samuel not to associate with Emily and to live his life well. But Samuel ultimately still did not listen to him, although Noah understood in his heart that he had brought himself to this point purely by his own actions. Yet, watching his brother, who had grown up with him, end up in such a pitiful state in just a year was unbearable. He couldn't help but sigh and earnestly advised him, Samuel, just forget about Laura. The things she said back then were just to play with you. A bitter smile tugged at the corners of Samuel's mouth. How could he not understand that Laura was deliberately trying to disgust him? But he had no other choice. He could only hold on to this one slim chance to give himself a glimmer of hope for survival. In the midnight hours, he often reminisced about the days spent with Laura. If only he hadn't acted foolishly back then, perhaps they would be married now, with a lovely baby. Unfortunately, there has never been an if only in this world.